want to say ETM Hotep, Dua Duau, Dua Aku, Dua Netcha, Fatmu Alafie, Fatmu Riri, Majuba Iba E Gungun, Majuba Iba E Gungun, Majuba Iba E Lakba, Majuba Iba E Lakba, E Gungun, Kiki E Gungun. I always want to give honor and praise to the ancestors, because without the ancestors, we wouldn't be here. We are our ancestors. I also want to stand on and praise to the true and living elders out there according to an African worldview and from an African perspective. Before we get started, I got two of my brothers on the panel. I got brother Sutek Akandi, Uyani Olawa, and I got my brother Chavis Tep Hesses Owl on the panel. I'll mute my mic, man, for a minute and let y'all speak.
Hey, man, peace to the chat. Make sure as y'all coming in, y'all please like and share the show. We appreciate y'all for coming back through with us. Please try to at least share the show in at least like 5 groups, man. You know, help us get this word out. But yeah, man, appreciate y'all for coming through once again. We Blak at it.
What's going on? Peace to the chat. Peace to my bros. Shit, I'm about to sit back and soak up some good game because I ain't really never got into this particular topic. And if Kofi on it, you finna get some real good information. So get your notepads out and soak it up.
You muted, Kofi.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah. Like I said, man, like my brother said, man, please and share the show, man, with those that you think that may be interested in this information. Before we get started too, I know I'm finna I know my brother Magi was watching Magi's channels while ago, and matter of fact, he's still on here. I actually got it paused, but he was talking about teaching a while ago. You know, everybody bumping their guns and talking. There's no teaching going on these other platforms. And I know he been missing for a minute. He just jumped back on the scene. But you know, we teaching over here. We've been doing. I seen Shawn put in Mossi Science with Shawn and Kofi Piesie, our research team. He was talking about nobody's teaching. Yeah, we teaching over here, brother Magi. And I'm definitely gonna hopefully reach out to him tonight. And maybe in the next 2 weeks I'm gonna have him on Warrior Scholar Show, man. But peace to everybody that's in the chat, man. It's gonna be a treat for the sisters. And it's gonna be a treat for everybody else too, because you know, I'm gonna break down some history, maybe talk about some information that y'all never heard of neither. I'm not saying y'all may not have heard of some of this information. And I'll talk about that in just a second. Before we get into the show, real quick, let me stroll up to here. We got up here on the screen here, we got a flyer up here. We are 6 days away from our online release for Spear Masters, a historical survey in the minds of African warrior scholars, volume 4. So please be on the lookout for that. You'll be able to purchase that book on September the 24th, which is this Friday, and you'll be able to see the online book release celebration. We got our host MC Chill, or Kevin MC Herit Chill. If you hadn't looked at the video on Warrior Scholars I did, man, that was a great video when I interviewed him. But he'll be hosting. I got Mku Menzi, Asarim Hotel. I got something in my throat. Blak Panther and Unc West, who are going to be the guest speaker. It'll be from 7 to 8, starting at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time on the Mossi Warrior Clan channel. Real quick, I want to do this too. On my screen here, New Independent African Academy. New Independent African Academy. It is a community. It is the new community. So if you want to join this community, please, continue to follow what we got going on. Like I said, we're gonna continue to bring this content out. And before we get started, I also wanted to actually share each show. I wanted to share something real quick. I'm gonna share my screen real quick before we get into the presentation. Let me go here, get my share screen. I wanted to read something out because we have structure over here. So let me go right here. Let me know. Let me know y'all when my screen is sharing. Let me go to YouTube too. Is my screen sharing?
Yeah. You sharing?
Okay. I matter of fact, hold on. Let me go. Yeah. Let me. Dang, I got this on. I got this new Independent Africa up here. Hold on. Let me take this off of here. So everybody can see what we got here. Hold on. Give me a second. I'll throw that back up there in just a minute. Man,
I sent it to your messenger, Panther.
Oh, you want from the jump on?
Yeah, he wants
okay, yeah, from the jump on. Okay. So new Independent African Academy, and this is a community separate from the conscious community. Every show I'm going to read these things. We have here new Independent African Academy community mandates. These are mandates. Never talk down on another NIIA member in public. No pseudo. Research methods or methodology must be followed. Teach those that are ready and willing to learn. Number 5, support other members. Number 6, disagreements handled in private. Number 7, no one is above correction. We must stand for Black Africans, its descendants, and the diaspora. Zero tolerance for dishonesty. Number 10, Iwariri, the standard for how one must conduct themselves. And for those that might not know what Iwariri is, that is good character. No selfless acts, no scamming. And those, I should have bold those. A few other ones I should have just bold, but no selfless acts. That is something that we're definitely not going to be tolerated selfless acts, because we know a lot of people is in that other community for selfish gain. So no selfless acts, no scamming. You know, if you're trying to scam folks, trying to find your new community to come in because you done scammed everybody else in the other community, I'm sorry that you can't. There's no scamming over here. No pedophilia. No disrespect to Black women. Race first. Supporting Black businesses. Integrity. Must possess a will to learn, and that should have been bolded too. Must possess a will to learn, because there is a lot of people that I talk to that is not willing to learn. They just not willing to learn. Each one teach one, as I learn, we all learn. And I should have bold this one, because this is each one teach one, or as I learn, we all learn. I put both, or because that is some of the same thing, because what we've been talking about for the past couple of weeks when we dealing with the first conscious community, that was the mantra, each one teach one. That was for those people who went and got a higher education, those intellectuals. It was mandated, it was their duties to go back into the community and teach this high information to the people. So we definitely has been doing that with the as I learn, we all learn. Also, the NIAAC, which is the new Independent African Academy Community, goals is to producing more authors. We're producing more authors, because when you go back and you look at the American Negro Academy, they talk about some of the same things: setting up publishing companies, producing books, producing writers, producing intelligent Black men and women, and exceptional Black men and women, producing leaders. They was talking about producing things in the community. Because again, I'm paraphrasing Alex Cromwell, who is the founder of the American Negro Academy, said a civilization is not a civilization if it's not producing anything So you definitely, if you're over here, we definitely want you to be producing something. Producing exceptional men and women is the end, is the goal. Institution for learning, entrepreneurship, because we need more of that. Scientific literacy, scholarships for the youth, long-lasting marriages, and going back to the scholarships for the youth. You know, we need to be able to do something where we're producing scholarships for the youth. Just going back, we have a lot of single parents, mothers out there that's raising their kids, going to work, and they barely making ends meet or making just enough to pay the bills and take care of their family. And the kids may not get a free ride. So, we're trying to be able to do something where we're able to produce scholarships for the kids so they're able to go to college and get an education. Long-lasting marriages, creating rites of passages, unification, multiple support systems. We definitely need those as well. So I will be reading these every show, and this is from, let me go back. Let me get back here. This is the new independent African Academy mandates, codes of conducts, and goals that we are trying to reach. So again, this is the new independent African Academy. Also go to our store and get the new independent African Academy t-shirts. They are on familyconnectapparel.com, or you can just type in, if you type in Mboka, MBOKA, which means family in Wolof. If you just type in Mboka, I guarantee the rest of it to come up, Family Connect Apparel. Click on that link. Go to the section and stroll down till you find the shirts. But these are the shirts that we got up if you supporting and you rocking with the new Independent African Academy. Also, today's show is Female Talented 10 and the new Independent African Academy. Hey, Today, you'll bring me a water, please? And I got a few women up here. Some of these women on here, I got a few women in the back. I got those women. You bring me a water, Tudor, for a reason. But I got all these women on here for a reason. And again, this show is about the women. I had another show I did dealing with, it was actually, we packed our bags and moved to the conscious community. We packed our bags and moved out of the conscious community to the new Independent African Academy. And I had a bunch of men on there, which kind of was controversial. I had no women up there. So, and it was a reason why I didn't have the women up there. And even if you go back, when we started talking about the Talented 10, the men was in the forefront when we talk about the intellectual societies at first, and then what happened when the women came, but it's a significance on when the women came. So again, this show is called Female Talented 10 and the new Independent African Academy. Let me hide this. And before I get into it, I got Brother Panther on the panel. Go ahead, Brother Panther. How you doing today, man?
I'm good, bro. Peace. Just checking y'all out as normal.
No doubt, man.
Make sure you're drinking enough water now. You sounding real hoarse over there.
Yeah, man. Well, glad to have you on the panel, man.
No issue, no problem.
Yeah. That's my brother from another mother, man. So let's get into it, man. I'm gonna share my screen. Like I said, I'm gonna be talking about a lot of stuff, and I'm gonna kind of be reiterating some stuff too. But before I share my screen, let's do that. I'm gonna just reiterate this first before we get into it. So no, I'm just gonna share my screen. I can get into it while I share my screen, because let's go to the Talented 10 first. Let's talk about what is the Talented 10 for people that may not know what the Talented 10 is. Let me go to sharing my screen. Okay. All right. Is my screen sharing, y'all?
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Before we go to the Talented 10, I want to highlight this sister is an African American. A lot of people may think she white. I thought she was white at one time too, but she's an African American. She is the granddaughter of a ex-slave. Uh, so I want to dedicate this show to her and to Amos Wilson. And I'll talk about why I'm saying Amos Wilson when I'm talking about the females for the Talented 10. A lot of this information I draw from her book. We'll talk about that in a minute. But I stumbled upon her I was reading an article in a journal, and each one of those articles in the journals mentioned her name in both of them. So I had to check her out. So I did a little research on her, and then I bought her book and started reading some of her book. But she is an African American history professor, Evelyn Brooks. I don't know. Higginbotham was born in Washington, D.C. in 1994. Her father, Dr. Albert Neal Dow Brooke, was a secretary treasurer of the Association for the Study of African American Life and History and the editor of the Organization of Negro History Bulletin. Now, that is significant of her father being a part of the Association for the Study of African American, but the Negro History Bulletin, which was founded by Amos Wilson, who was the second person in history here to get his doctorate right after a few years after W.E.B. Du Bois. And her mother, Allen Elaine Campbell, a high school history teacher who later served as a supervisor for the history of Washington, D.C. public school system. Hiddenberg received a PA degree in history from the University of Wisconsin, and in 1969, and her MA degree in history from Howard University in 1974. She went on to receive certifications in Archer Administrations and Record Management in 1975 from the U.S. National Archives, and the certification of quantum methodology and social science in 1977 from Newburgh's Library in Chicago. She went on to earn her PhD degree in history from the University of Rochester in 1984. So I wanted to kind of talk about, just show some of the Evelyn's credentials. Evelyn Brooks Heidenberg's a Harvard professor, president of Association for the Study of African American Life and History. That's the ASLHH, and this is the reason I'm talking about this brother right here real quick. I want to dedicate the show. This is Carter G. Wilson because he founded that as well. And Evelyn's father was a writer during that time for Amos Wilson. For the Negro Bulletin, and her father used to take her when she was a little child over to Carter G. Wilson's house. So they went and visited Carter G. Wilson quite often. And then as she got older, she began to she became the president of the organization that he found. But Carter G. Wilson, the second African American to receive a doctoral from the Harvard of W.E.B. Du Bois, known as her father of Black history. Wilson dedicated his career to the field of African American history and lobbied extensive and established Black History Month as a nationwide institution. He also wrote many historical works, including in 1933 books, Miseducation of Negro. He died in Washington, D.C. in 1950. In 1915, Wilson helped founded the Association for the Study of Negro Life and History, later named the Association for the Study of African American Life and History, which had goals of placing African American historical contributions front and center. Woodson established a scholarly publication journal of Negro history in 1916 to help teachers with African American studies. He created the Negro History Bulletin in 1937. Woodson also formed the American-owned Associated Publisher Press. Now, the Talented 10. Now, going back to the Talented 10, like a lot of people may think that the Talented 10 is about 10 individuals, right? The Talented 10 is not about 10 individuals. It's actually an ideology. And this ideology was adopted by Morehouse College, a historical Black college. Also was adopted by Spelman's college. We're going to get into the history of that too, because those colleges are historical Black colleges, right? But some of us may not know how these colleges actually got started. So we're going to talk about that. But during this time period of what I'm talking about, the women became very instrumental during this time period. You got let's after the slave trade, you start to you start these abolitionists. A lot of these churches try to aid and assist in helping those who came out of slavery to have a better life, to have equal rights, to have a high education. So you first start to see this ideology with the Talented 10, and this Talented 10 ideology was a formation for those who was coming out of slavery. And them coming out of slavery, you start to see men begin to become educated. And this was before, and this was particularly for the men. This is the reason why I did the men first, and then I'm coming back and now I'm doing the women second. When we talk about the Talented 10, I gave you my Talented 10 for the 21st century. I'm gonna give you the Talented 10 for the female for the 21st century, but I gave you some individuals like Alex Cromwell, George Washington Williams, Amos Wilson, W.E.B, Du Bois, Martin Delaney, John Henry Clark, a few other people that I named various people, a lot of people that deal with what I call the first community, first conscious community with the American Negro Academy and even the Independent African Academy that came later on. And this ideology was adopted by all of these different organizations and by all of these different men. And W.E.B. Du Bois championed that, and he wrote an essay about the Talented 10. And then he believed that with this Talented 10 ideology, that higher education could perpetuate Blacks into a better situation. And not only that, but it was their duty as these intellectuals that I named. These guys went and got these educations and got bachelor's degrees and got master's degrees, and some of them got even PhDs and MDs. And they went back into the community and they taught this information in the community. And they even did certain things because of Talented 10 was also about effecting social change in your community. It was about building leaders, not one leader, but building leaders, building exceptional men and women, building intellectuals, right? So the Talented 10 is a term that is designated by the leadership class of African descendants of Americans in the early 20th century. The term was created by white Northern I can't even pronounce the word. I'm gonna tear the word up, man. Somebody can help me out up there here. Philanthropist, I think that's right. Philanthropist, publicized by W.E. Du Bois in the influence essay of the same name, which is published in September of 1903. And it appeared in the Negro Problem, a collection of essays written by leading African Americans. The phrase Talented 10 originated in 1896 among the white Northern liberals, specifically American Baptist Home Missionary Society. So we're going to talk about the ABHMS and what their role was when these individuals coming out of slavery, and then what was their role for as the Talented 10 women. And I'm saying again, it's not a group of 1 or 2 or 10. It's a collective of intellectuals. The phrase Talented 10 originated in 1896. Hello, wifey. I see my wife come popped in the chat. The Talented 10. Okay, where I left out. W.E.B. Du Bois wrote the Talented 10. Theodore Roosevelt was the president of the United States Industrials of skyrocketing. Du Bois thought it was good time for African Americans to advance their position in society. The Talented 10 referred to one of the 10 Black men that have cultivated the ability to become leaders of the Black community by acquiring a college education, writing books, and becoming directly involved in social change. This is something that we're trying to perpetuate and continue on with the new independent African Academy. And that is, again, to push people to go to college and get an education. But we need people in those fields as well as the as well as writing books, as he said, writing books and becoming directly involved in social change, because we need to be directly in our community, making a positive impact in our community. In the Talented 10, Dubois argued that these college education African-American men should sacrifice their personal interests and use their education to lead better in the Black community. Now, here, like I said, I'm going to be using some information from the sister that I just wrote, I just told you about. And this book, this actually is a good book, man. Only thing I don't like about the book is the chapters, man. They is entirely too long, man. And the one Pacific chapter that I read and got some information from, man, that chapter was 55 or 58 pages. That's a half a small book right there, man. Just one chapter long, but she had some good information. So it'll be coming from Righteous Disconnect, the women's movement in the Black church, the Black Baptist Church of 1880 to 1920. And as I talked about in the 1880s, when you start to see them pushing this Talented 10 ideology with the American Baptist Home Movement Society, right? They started to teach and educate or give the men a higher education. They excluded the women in the beginning. And 10 years after that, I'm going to say maybe around 1890, you started to see that people started pleading for women to get a higher education. And most of those people that I mentioned back, like Alex Cromwell or George Williams, George Washington Williams, and some other ones that was a part of the W.E.B. Dubois and some other individuals a part of the American Negro Academy, because this was kind of like around in the same lines in the late 19th century. A lot of these guys was ministers. So a lot of these guys was ministers. A lot of these guys was Baptist ministers. Some of these guys was Methodist ministers. So they was targeting a lot of men that was a part of the ministry. The women became significant. Let's talk about it for a minute. The convention movement of the Black Baptist Church was led by a race concise vanguards imbued with the class values of Victorian American. In a decade following Reconstruction, the movement expanded in the ranks with growing numbers of educated men and women, the majority of whom been trained in the Southern Black schools and colleges. There was a little doubt in their mind that educated stood second only to religion and to enable Reconstruction. The movement expanded in ranks with growing numbers of educated men and women, and the majority of whom had been trained in Southern Black schools and colleges. There was little doubt of their mind that education stood secondly only to religion and enabling their survival of salvation in America. The evidence of education values appears irrefutable to men and women denial legal access to learning under the slave regime. So this was found. This stuff started to come into place because, again, after this was like coming right out of slavery. You know, our ancestors was deprived of reading and writing. So a lot of the people that was coming out was illiterate. They couldn't read and write. They didn't have what we would call a high education at those times. And then there was not a lot of Black people at that particular time in college at that time, because we're looking at the late 19th century. Now we know it is abundance of us in college right now in the 21st century. But in the late 19th century, the early 20th century, there were not a lot of Black people in college or in school. and coming right out of slavery, you know, again, we was deprived of reading and writing. So literacy was at an all-time high. 95% of the Southern blacks unable to read and write at the outbreak of the Civil War. Illiterate proved a bitter fruit of bondage. African Americans were quick to identify literacy with a personal fulfillment of upward mobility. The testimony of slaves repeatedly noted how significant it was to read the Bible. Write one's name, compute one's earning, and teaching others to do the same. Despite the values of education to the individual advancement at large, more lasting service was perceived in the terms of collective empowerment. Education, especially higher education, was considered essentially to the progress of African Americans as a group. So there you keep seeing they're pushing high education, high education, high education. And again, W.E.B. Du Bois, he pushed that further when he wrote that essay, and he came up, pushed that ideology of high education, high education. He believed that high education would resolve a lot of problems for the Black race. The growth of the church women visibly and influence throughout the lasting quarters of the 19th century was directly related to the growth in the numbers of educated women. The significant extent of conventions movement among Black Baptists was sparked by the educational philosophies of colleges that were founded in the post-Pelham South by white Northern Protestants. The school owned and supported by Northern Baptists advocated the development of education elites, college/educated Black women, a group I call Female Talented 10. This assembled middle-class morals and values among the masses, at the same time generated financial support for the Black church and its educational and numerous service programs. Now, the Talented 10 females component should not be overlooked during the late 19th century, early 20th century. Educators and religious leaders authenticated women roles and quite explicit terms deemed them essential, even prominent, to African American progress. Through public schools, 100 of private schools, churches, home visitations, the Female Talented 10 served as a conduit for the race pride. And we're gonna talk about that because again, the women role was significant because they was deprived in the beginning coming out of slavery. Again, it was the men who were being educated at first at the beginning of 1880, and then around 1890, you started to have more people starting to plead, or more Black ministers, Black Baptist ministers start to argue for women to be educated as well during this time. So it started out with the men, but the women, you're going to see as we get further along, the women began to take it over because they thought it was going to be the men that was going to be able to perpetuate the Black race out of the situation it is by getting this higher education and producing exceptional men and exceptional leaders. But the women also became exceptional women, and they became exceptional intellectuals as well, because we're gonna get into that. We're gonna get into the numbers. I don't want to give it away right now. But opening school doors of women in Northern white efforts, specifically those of American Baptist Home Missionary Society, that is the ABHMS, and its Women Auxiliary of New England and the Midwest, played a seminal role in the development of educating Black leaders. In 1862, in the midst of the Civil War, the ABHMS, which is the American Baptist Home Missionary Society, so keep that in mind, pledged to provide the emancipated slaves with Christian instructions. It is the report in 1865, the ABHMS designated the training of Black men for the ministry as the most direct example of effective ways of teaching the masses of colored people. In less than a decade, the society broadened its goals to include a collegiate training of Black women. In 1872, Shawn University, Northern Carolina, the home of missionary schools, opened the doors to women. To other ABHMS schools moved quickly to become educational. By 1880, the white Baptist educators owned and supported 8 schools for Blacks only, to which were exclusive males: Richmond Institution Males, Richmond, Virginia; Atlanta Baptist College, which we're going to talk about the Atlanta Baptist College, because the Atlanta Baptist College, they actually adopted, well, the Atlanta Baptist College became Morehouse, HBC, which the Atlanta Baptist College of Morehouse adopted the Talented 10 ideology. You had one of the founders who actually was helping the the American Baptist Home Missionary Society. So they actually adopted the Talented 10 ideology. You have Atlantic Shaw University, Rayne, North Carolina; Bennick Institution, Columbia, South Carolina; Nashville Institution of Tennessee; Natchez Seminary of Natchez, Mississippi. That's about 40 minutes away from me. Leland University, New Orleans, Louisiana; and Wayland Seminary, Washington, D.C. Schools report from 1880 affirmed the commitment of the ABHMS to women's education. The report juxtaposed women and ministers as the vital contributors of racial upliftment. The reports of Reverend Charles Iyer, president of the Natchez Seminary, declared, "Give us ministry and the women, and we will lift the masses of our free people." Blacks themselves urged home missionary societies to open the doors of its schools to women. In the early 1880s, Black churches in Atlanta and Richmond pledged money for women education, since Northern Baptists had provided only the men in 2 of their cities. Their financials as well as verbal support provided a preservation argument. In April 1880, Reverend Frank Quarles, Atlanta, leader of pastor of Friendship Baptist Church, turned over the basement of the church to Sophie Packer and Herit Giles of New England. So right there you see in 1881, Reverend Frank, it says, of Atlanta leader, because we're going to talk about specifically Atlanta and we're going to talk about Virginia a little bit. So it says again, 1880, Reverend Frank Giles, Atlanta leader of Pastor Friendship Baptist Church, turned over his basement of his church to Sophie Packer and Herit Giles of the New England-based Women American Baptist Home Missionary Society. The 2 women had come to Atlanta in order to establish a school of higher education for Black women and had learned Quarles' interest in this cause. Within a few days, their meeting, Quarles rallied a local Black minister who vigorously publicized and facilitated the school's opening by printing and disputing the flyers. So just back-forwarding, going back to this Reverend giving these 2 European women his basement. He facilitated his basement. They was also a part of the American Baptist Home Missionary Society. And this is where you start to see this Talented 10 ideology, which W.E.B Boys champion for as high education. Going to school and getting this high education, or what he calls civil education, and which provides us with history, which provides us with science, which provides us with writing, which provides us with a multiple of things when we're talking about higher learning. So W.E.B Du Bois, and also with the American Baptist Home Missionary Society, they thought that this, by educating those who came out of slavery, because again, at that time, reading and writing was against the law. So a lot of us coming out of slavery at that time was not literate, because we couldn't read nor could we write. So they believe if we got this high education, it would put blacks in America in a better position. So when these two women come to Atlanta, and like I'm saying, we know when we talk about the historical black college, where we talk about Morehouse, or we talk about Spelman, or we talk about Howard, Howard University, a few other colleges, you know, in the Atlantic area. A lot of it was I'll get to it because I don't want to give it away. The church basement served as the founding site of Atlantic Baptist Female Seminaries, renamed Spelman. And for 2 years, the church houses the school. In its critical first year, Spelman's existence, Black Atlanteans raised funds sufficient to confirm the commitment in its success in attracting further support of northern white Baptists. The Black Baptist State Convention, especially leaders such as William J. White, a minister, newspaper editor, prominent figure in the founding of Atlanta Baptist College, renamed Morehouse, committed process from the sales of a valuable property to the Atlanta Women's School. So, let's go a little bit further now. Expound. Morehouse. Let's talk about Morehouse, because I said Morehouse actually adopted the Talented 10 ideology. And again, I'll just keep reiterating. The Talented 10 ideology was for producing exceptional men, or producing intellectuals. And those intellectuals, by gaining a high education, would make it their duty to go back into their community and teach this high education for those that may couldn't go to school and get this high education for whatever reason it may be, for that was preventing them from actually going to school, and also producing leaders, and also producing leaders are getting individuals, these exceptional men and women, to go back into in their community and affect positive change or social change within their own communities. So Morehouse College is a private historical Black men liberal arts college in Atlanta, Georgia, orchard by its main campus of 61 acres, 2,500 near down Atlanta. The college has varieties of residential dorms, academic buildings east of Archive Heights, along with Spelman College, Clark College University, and Morehouse Schools Medicines of Colleges is a member of the Atlantic University Center Cornerstone, founded by William J. White in 1867, response to the liberation of enslaved African Americans, followed by the American Civil War. Morehouse adopted seminary university models and stressed religious instructions in the Baptist tradition. So, you know, a lot of us is familiar with Morehouse. A lot of us is familiar with Spelman College. A lot of us is familiar with Clark Atlanta University. And a lot of these colleges, their roots come from the late 19th century, dealing with the American Baptist Home Missionary Societies, these Europeans who were trying to help those who came out of slavery to get a proper education so they could go back and have be able to contribute to their family, be able to contribute to their communities with this high education. So even when we talk about Spelman, we're going to go back to Spelman, because again, these colleges that I mentioned, we say they are HBCUs, and their origin goes back to the American Baptist Home Movement Society. So a lot of the fundings that was raised for the buildings are even starting out, because we're going to go back to Spelman College. Spelman College is that same place we just talked about, where this white reverend gave these two women who came from London over here to Atlanta, and he gave them their basement. He gave them their basement where they was able to facilitate this place and educate Black women. So they started to bring in, so it started small, but we're going to talk a little bit further how it began to expand, but they had to go out and get money. They had to go out and get funding. And even with the Spelman College, you start to see, you have the founder of Morehouse who actually was funding and donating and building, etc., to help with the process of educating these women who became what we call the female talented 10, because the women which we see today, most of the people in our fields today are what? They are teachers, right? We have more teachers more female teachers than we have male teachers. And during the late 19th century, again, the women was deprived in the beginning of getting this higher education or following this talented 10 ideology. They was deprived of this. And later on, you had people on the behalf of the women, some of the Black Baptist ministers on behalf pleaded with these American Baptist home missionary societies that their women need to be educated. So the women took on the ranks and they actually succeeded the men when it came to, because their purpose was also, now the purpose was, because I talked about this, the American Negro Academy, and then later on you had the Independent African Academy, the American Negro Academy, and then later on the Independent African Academy. Their main purpose was to go get an education and go to college and get a master's, get a bachelor's, if you can, get a master's, get a PhD, and etc. But they made it one of their duties and their mandates in these organizations was to go back into the community, and teach. Again, to go back in the community and teach. So these women, this is exactly what they did. They actually was deprived, but then when they actually got a chance to go and get an education, and we looking in the South, and we looking at Atlanta, and we looking at how Spelman got started, how Morehouse got started, how Clark Atlanta got started. Some of these colleges in Southern has, again, their origins in the American Baptist Home Missionary Societies, this European society that wanted to help those who came out of slavery get an education, get a higher education, so they be able to better take care of their families and better be able to help their community by going back in their community and teaching. So we are seeing a lot of that guy, man. That guy, and I'm pausing for a minute. I see your thing, man. I don't know if that guy in here, man. But if he pop up in here, Shawn, man, I said don't block him, bro. But just block him, man. Like we over here, we don't need no distractions over here, brother. And I know he came in when I was interviewing the other guy earlier. And again, apologize for that. We got to redo it. He was having technical difficulties, so we couldn't finish the interview. But that guy, man, for some reason, he is hurt. For some reason, another, man. Y'all got that brother upset. But anyway, going back into what I was saying. So the women, and I'm saying this was important because the women took on that mantle and they went farther than some of the men. I know we talk about, I talked about a lot of those men that deal with the American Negro Academy, those who deal with the Independent African Academy and so forth. So I named a list of a lot of good men, but there was a lot of women who championed the same thing and who went on to do exactly what they was mandated to do. And we actually seeing the same thing today for the mandate is getting this education and then going back and teaching, because we see a lot of teachers, we see more female teachers, than male teachers. So And that was just something to ponder on too, just to go back and look. You can go back and look for yourself, man, and check it out. The American Baptist Home Missionary Societies and how they are connected with some of these HBCUs, and actually how it got started. And again, like I said, just going back to when we talking about Spelman, you can look up Spelman. Spelman is also a HBCU as well. So yeah, it's as well. But these two women, this white pastor let these two women use the basement of his church to actually start teaching. This is the origin of how Spelman College, this HBCU, got started, was teaching in a basement in a church at first and teaching Black women, right? Richmond Black Seminary promoted a high education of Black women. In 1880, Black churches represented in Virginia Baptist State Convention begged the ABHMS to alter the all-male policy of the Richmond Theology Institution so that the women could be admitted in the house on the campus. So I read you back a while ago, Richmond, Virginia, or I read you that a lot of the schools was male dominant, no females. So now they are catching on and they're seeing what is going on with Spelman, or this small school in the basement of this white church, right? Where these two women started this school and started teaching women. So now you have other ministers in Virginia is pleading for the same thing, you know what I'm saying, institution, so that their women could be admitted in the house on the campus. The Black ministers Anthony Bingham and Virginia urged Northern Baptists to establish educational opportunities for the Black women. I have a note here. 2 years later, the Northern White Baptists established Hawthorne Memorial College for a singular purpose of educating Black women. Like Spelman, the college was initially a house in the Black Baptist Church Ebenezer. The Black Baptist Church Ebenezer Church in Richmond. So they began to teach down in the basement of this Black church Ebenezer Church in Richmond, or the Ebenezer Church in Richmond, in the basement, where they started to teach these Black women as they did in Georgia. In 1880, ABHMS conducted 8 schools. Male enrolled more than double females, and 1,191 students. 850 were men, while only 339 were women. This was in 1880. So, and I take that back, it was 1870. And then you start to see 10 years later, after the men started receiving this education, then later on, the women, you start to see the women get this high education as well. So in 1880, you see males enrolled more, that was double than the female. You had, again, 1,191 students. 850 were men, while only 339 were women. The teaching staff was more evenly distributed by sex, with 21 males teachers and 16 females. In 1892, the ABHMS, which is the American Baptist Home Missionary Society, counted 202 teachers in 13 schools of higher education. 82 were men and 120 was women. Now you starting to see the numbers starting to change. At first, in the 1880s, there was predominantly more students than it were students at the school, male students, than women. Then you start to see the numbers start to increase for the women, and then it started to decline for the women. But also, while they was in these things, while they was in these schools or in these basements of these churches learning, as they was learning, they was also becoming teachers, because some of them was student teachers. So for those some that had been there for a while, began to teach those who came later on. So they were still students and going to school there, but they also had a role as teaching, because again, going back to the Talented 10 ideology, it was each one teach one, or like I would like to say with back then, now the phrase of as I learn, we all learn, and I believe that sharing information with others deepen your own knowledge. You're right. So they began to teach others what they have learned within these schools within the basement. And then they would also go home because they also had vacations and, or out of school where they would go and be at home for long periods of time. And they would teach at home. They would teach in their community because, again, that was the thing, to raise exceptional men and exceptional women, to raise intellectuals, to make it their duty to go back and teach because they believe this would bring the Black race at this particular time out of the situation they was in coming out of slavery, because the literacy rate was high at this particular time because it was against the law to read and write. All right. So, again, you see the numbers begin to increase, right? So now you're starting to see within a 10-year, 11-year span, you're starting to see that the women is starting to be, the men is starting to decline, the women is inclining. So 13 schools of higher education, 82 were men and 120 were women. Of the 5,167 Black students enrolled in 1892, 2,219 were men and 2,948 were women. So now in the ranks, you start to see it start to change. Again, in the beginning, you start to see that this organization and these European organizations that was trying to help, specifically the American Baptist Home Missionary Society, other white philanthropists, was trying to help those ex-slaves coming out of slavery to get a better education, so that they could go into their own communities and teach and get themselves out of these situations, but also create producers, people that are able to produce things and produce these leaders, producing, again, because somewhere down the line, we got to where we started following one individual. When we started to get to the 60s, the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, we started to see this one-man leadership. But when you look at the American Negro Academy, you look at the Independent African Academy, these were exceptional men and women, or exceptional intellectuals that were leaders. And the whole purpose of that ideology was to produce not one leader, but produce leaders. So they was producing leaders. So you had a mass of leaders. Dang. All right. So, damn. Hold on, y'all. Let me go back. Let me go back. Am I still sharing my screen? Yeah.
Yep.
All right. The American Baptist Home Missionary Society characterized its educational work for the Southern freed people as which produce leaders. Again, you see it says the ABHMS, which is the American Baptist Home Missionary Society, characterized its educational work for the Southern freed people as the which produce leaders, not a leader, but leaders. So convinced were the Northern Baptists of the needs for Black women higher education that they turned exclusiveness policies toward women short-sighted and suicidal. Now, before I get into, I keep doing the same thing, man. Hold on. I was trying not to. So the Talented 10. The Talented 10 will guide the Black masses along the journey up and away from the heritage of slavery. This constituted a very goal of uplifting a goal at once progressive of conservative. So it was trying to uplift those who was coming out of slavery with a proper education. Because again, the literacy rate was high. We was illiterate because it was illegal for a slave to read and write. So, slavery ended the late 19th century. Then you start to see the American Baptist Home Missionary Society, 1870, come on the scene, started targeting the men and helping them to get higher education. so that they could go back into their community and teach to those that couldn't go to these schools, or particularly because the schools and stuff for the blacks came later. But when we're talking about the black women, them being educated around 1880, this was in 1880. They started in the churches. They started in the basement of the churches, and originating some of what we call the historical black colleges today: Spelman, Morehouse, the other college, Atlanta. Damn, I skipping my dang mind. But you start to see this, and they using the Talented 10 ideology, and W.E.B. Dubois championed this Talented 10 ideology, wrote an essay about this Talented 10 ideology. And again, these individuals, these women, like I said, was deprived of this information, deprived of an education, then later began to get an education. And then you start to see that the women in numbers, the students for women started to succeed more. And the men started to be on more of a decline. And we still see that today, where we see more teachers who are female than male. And as they was in this school getting an education, those who stayed and participated, and those, it ranged. It ranged from you had mothers and daughters would go to some of these schools in the churches in the basement that started in Atlanta. And then you see that Virginia picked it up as well. Okay, they pleaded for their black women to be educated as well. They believe, and again, during that particular time, they believed that a high education would propel the black race in a better position coming out of slavery, and it will also be more effective for Atlanta, Clark Atlanta University. Peace to everybody that's in the chat. So I want to talk about, I'm gonna just give two names, and I may do a part two. I'm almost done. I wanted to kind of keep it kind of small because there was a lot of information, because I may do a part two and go back and talk a little bit more about some of the things that they was doing, and even talk about the Sabbath school that they also had. They had the set, because again, you have to understand that coming out of slavery, these organizations, a lot of these organizations, when you with the abolishers, a lot of these was Christian, was a lot of them was Christian organizations. This American, Baptist Home Missionary Society, this organization was a Christian society as well. And a lot of these people that we talk about were ministers. But anyway, I wanted to highlight with two sisters. In 1885, Sophie Benita joined the Jones, MD becomes the first African American woman to graduate from the Medical School. She came to Michigan from Canada, frustrated with the University of Toronto limiting medical training programs for women. After graduation, she became the first African American to join a facility at Spelman College. That school or that college, that HBCU, started in Atlanta in a church basement, first teaching black women before it came to what we know now. A facility at Spelman College, and established a nursing training program before going to practice medicine in St. Louis, Philadelphia, and Kansas City. This is Sophie Benita Jones. Then you have Nora Antonia Gordon, was born in Columbus, Georgia, to parents who had been slaves of Governor John B. Gordon. She attended a Christian missionary school in Cleveland, Ohio, and after graduating, enrolled in a seminary school in 1882. In 1888, she graduated from Spelman Seminary, which later became Spelman College. The same, what I'm talking about, that school that started teaching blacks, women in Atlanta in a basement, started out in a basement. And a lot of I should have talked about some of the conditions that these women had to go through to learn down in these basements. You know, in these basements, she was selected from pools of applicants to go as a missionary to Africa and began to She selected to a pool applicants to go as a missionary to Africa and began traditions of Spelman missionary work as the first graduate to go to Africa. Though she had been offered a job as a school teacher in Atlanta, Gordon chose to accept a missionary assignment of Women Baptist Foreign Missionary Societies of the West. She spent a year at a missionary school in London on her way to Palabala missions in the Congo, where she worked with Louis Fleming, teaching students in both schoolhouses and Sunday school. In 1890, she transferred to the Luganga Missionary Station in West Central Africa, where she founded a school with Clara Harwood, a classmate who also graduated from Spelman, another graduated from Spelman in 1887. Gorman was charged as an afternoon school and printing office. You also see a lot of those women that went to Spelman, started out in Spelman, they eventually open up their own schools. And you can see here this sister Nora Gordon, as well as Clara Howard, they open up a school together. They both graduated from Spelman School or Spelman Seminary, which started in the basement of a church. Now, my female talented 10 of the 21st century is Dr. Oyama, and I'll explain to you why. And again, you can tell who your talented 10 is for the 21st century. I gave you my talented 10 for the 21st century for the men and explained to you why. And again, the talented 10 is not 10 men and it's not 10 women. It is an ideology. But Dr. Oyama, and the reason why I say Dr. Oyama, she is a doctor. She did go to school, and dealing with talented 10, one of their goals were high education. And when we talk about Dr. Ben or John Henry Clark or Alex Cromwell or Sheikh Anta Diop or Asa Hilliard or Tara Torre, a lot of these guys went to school and got an education and then started writing books. And that was one of their goals too, was to write books. This sister doesn't have a book out yet, but her goal, she's teaching. She's a professor at a school. She teaches at a school. That is one of the mandates for the Talented 10. She also is a producer, because again, Alex Cromwell, who is the founder of the American Negro Society, said a civilization is not a civilization if you're not producing. And one of their mandates is, let me go back, let me go here real quick, if I can find it real quick. I can't find it, but you know, like I said, one of them was producing. You know what I'm saying? Was producing. She has a Mail Track series out, animated series where she's actually teaching information. Her business partners, as well as her son, it has this series where kids are actually learning about their history. And again, that was one part of the high education part, was history, learning about your history. W.E.B. Du Bois perpetuated that, as well as Amos Wilson, the same. And she has a channel where she's teaching on her channel, and she's bringing on other teachers, as well as authors, as well as writers, as journals, are bringing on exceptional men. I have number 2 is Alema Njai, and that is brother Blak Panther wife, and she is also doing the same thing. She's a writer. And again, a lot of those individuals that I named last week and I named today, those individuals are teachers. They are writers. She has a book, so she writes. So she is producing, and one of the mandates in the American Negro Academy, as well as the Independent African Academy, was writing. They was creating publications. I showed you they was creating publications last week. So they was creating publications. They was writing. You know, that was significant of Black people writing and telling their own stories. So she's a writer. She not only she has a book of poems. She also has a blog page where she writes and informs us as well. She's an exceptional writer, as well as she has her own channel where she teaches on her channel. She debunks information on her channel, and her and Dr. Oyama had the book club where they was actually every month, or not every month, but every week they was coming on, and for that entire how many weeks it was for that those chapters, they would discuss the books of some of our great ancestors, and they would go over this every week to the family to inform them. So Alema Njai will also be a part of the Talented 10. Her husband was a part of the Talented 10 for the 21st century. This is my pick. And I keep asking people, what is your, I said this on I done put this on my Instagram story. I done put this on my YouTube story. I done posted this on Facebook. Nobody has replied. I want to know, what is your Talented 10 for the 21st century? Who is your Talented 10? Your Talented 10 may be different, and explain to me why you pick these individuals, these males and females, as your Talented 10. I also have Kaba Nepti Ante, and she is, I wish she would do more. I talked to her. I hadn't, we used to talk all the time. We used to talk at least 4 to 5 times out of the month. We don't talk as much, but we still communicate, and we still talk. Maybe once a month, it may be twice every 2 months. But we still talk. That's my sister, and this sister she has a brilliant mind. I don't know if she's still a part of NBK, which is now Each One Teach One, because I know they took a lot of her videos down. A lot of their videos down, and they changed their names. So I don't know if they put all their content back up. I don't think they have, but Sister Kaba has some content on there where she contributed, where she's teaching. And again, the role and one of the mandates was to teach, to go back in the community. The Talented 10 mandates was to go back into the community and teach. So she was over there teaching, and Brother Unk can also vouch for Sister Kaba as well, because she's versed in evolution. Not only that she's versed in evolution, she dabbles in linguistics too. So this sister is a very exceptional woman. And again, the Talented 10 ideology was also developing developing exceptional men and exceptional men. So I'm giving you my Talented 10 of females because I feel like they are exceptional in their own right. And my last is LaDosha Wright. And I'm saying LaDosha Wright. LaDosha Wright is I'm saying this is my sister. She is the person who's introduced us to our family in Gambia. She is the one who actually got our books in the Gaia Journal Skills Academy in Gambia, and got us the scholar, got us in there, and got our books over there, and got a relationship with the schools over there. And the library is actually named after her. It is the Wright Library that our first 2 volumes are in that school. But not only that, the Talented 10 ideology is to produce people that write books, write publications, that write articles, that write journals. She has 2 books out. So she's also an author. She's writing, she's producing, she's putting out information. And her book is very good when it deals with her. She's dealing it really from a scientific standpoint. So she's scientific literacy too. So she's not dealing with it from a pseudo standpoint that, okay, well, shoot, in order to be Black, you got to have kinky hair, you got to have nappy hair. So she's dealing with it from a scientific standpoint in one of her books, man. The other book is like a children's book. And she's doing the work. she's also a professor for the school, where she actually teach once a month, where she's on a call, video call with her students over there in Gambia. They have 3 locations over there in Gambia, so she's teaching over there as well. So, and again, it is building exceptional. These are exceptional women who is following the mandate of the first conscious community. Those who had high standards, those who had structures, who followed or formulated this thing of high education, or what we call, or W.E.B. Dubois called the Talented Tenth Ideology, which was adopted into the HBCUs, the Spelman, the Morehouse, the Atlanta College. I know I'm mispronouncing the name, and the other HBCUs. So these are my talented teams. Like I said, I wanted to keep it small. I kind of had a whole bunch of stuff, but I kept it bite-sized. I wanted to try to share some information with people that might not even know about these HBCUs or even know about coming out of slavery. Let me stop sharing my screen. Hold on, let me stop sharing my screen real quick. All right, let me do this. All right, so I'll stop sharing my screen. Share some information of the females, because a lot of people, I don't know if Dr. Oyama came in the chat. I hadn't looked back in the chat, but I know I tagged her. I tagged Sister Nisha. I tagged Sister Kaba. I tagged Sister Julanda. I think I tagged Tamika. I might have tagged a few other women. I tagged Benita Sutton. She wasn't here. I don't know if she's still in here or not. But I didn't. I wanted to make sure that I did. Which I was going to do something anyway. But I know my sister, Dr. Oyama, was feeling a certain type of way when she made a comment, and then I was telling her, no, I'm going to do something, because I have no men on there when I did the. We packed our bags and left the conscious community and moved to the new independent African Academy. And again, while I'm talking about that, let's go here. Let's go. Hold on. Let's go here. And again, this is the new independent African Academy. This is something different than that over there that y'all call the conscious community. Each week I go live, I will be reading the goals, the codes of conduct, and the mandates for the new independent African Academy. And if you repping that, go to our store in Boca Family Connect Apparel and get your new independent African Academy t-shirts. But going back to what I was saying, let me get this off the screen. But going back to what I was saying, I didn't want Dr. Oyama or any other body to feel slighted and think that there wasn't any exceptional women out there. But I just wanted to kind of do this, and I could have went deeper and put a lot of information, but I didn't want it to be too info, and even and people lose interest real quick when you doing presentations and stuff. Man, they pop on, they pop off it, So I kind of kept it kind of what's the name, but I wanted to set the the stage for the women, that the women during that period coming out of slavery was deprived of education at first, and then when they was able to get this educational, they actually took it on head, man, and facilitated the mandates far as teaching. So you started to see more women become students that was going to these churches, in the basement of these churches, being taught. And then they became student teachers, where they began to teach the new students that would come there too, to help the other teachers out. And then these other women would go on into the community, and these women would become exceptional men and women. These women would open up numerous of schools. And even with the historical Black colleges, these women, you could say, were actually the blueprint for these schools being opened, because they had because the American Baptist Home Missionary Society, came in, and then they started to teach the women, and they, started raising money for these Black women to be educated. And they was being educated in these churches. And some of these schools became historical Black colleges later on down the line. And these women today in the 21st century is still taking it on, because again, you see more teachers, more female teachers than you see of male teachers. So I just really wanted to highlight that in the history and continue to talk about the Talented 10, because I'm gonna continue to talk about the Talented 10 ideology and talk about the American Negro Academy and the Independent African Academy, which is now we have the new Independent African Academy. So we're gonna, and when we're talking about those first two, we're talking about the first conscious community, and we're trying to get back to those standards and that structure of the first conscious community by having codes of conduct, by having mandates, by setting goals and accomplishing those goals, by going in a community and affecting social change or a positive effect in our community, becoming productive citizens, becoming producers. Because again, I'm gonna keep quoting what Addis Cromwell said: a civilization is not a civilization if you're not producing. And a lot of the mandates also was writing. You know what I'm saying? That was just one of them, but I just want to keep highlighting producing authors. We need more authors. We need more authors, because a lot of the people that we look up to that are our heroes, who are now transitioning our ancestors, and we regurgitate their information and we pull their books up off the shelves. Those guys was writers. They wrote. So we need to continue that legacy on, and we need to continue to write. We need to set goals, and we need to accomplish those goals. We need to set those mandates and follow those mandates, which is a higher standard. You know, we need to raise the literacy rate, even though we have more people. Back then, you didn't have, when we get to college, you didn't have Black people that was in college like we have now. So, you know, and back then they understood the importance of education. Now we just drop it. And I understand why, because it's the food system. I call it the food system. And I understand why we are dropping out of school, because we can't resonate with a lot of the misinformation that they trying to spoon feed us from the first grade all the way up to the 12th grade. So I get that, and I understand that, but we need to get back to those standards. So that's why I'm going to continue to push me, Brother Ben, Brother Chavis, Brother Sutek, who's on the panel, Brother Shawn, Sheffer, I guess he's still down with it. He was one that I actually sent him a PDF of what I was going to read every week. I read the PDF off for the show started, the mandates, codes of conducts, and the all our purpose of this community, of forming this community and trying to get back to that standard. And when going back to what I'm saying about illiterate, over there on the other side, I'm not really trying to talk about nobody, but a lot of people is illiterate. A lot of those people that be in the chat, those people they're not reading. They come for the show. And that's it. And most of those platforms in the other community over there, it's about everything is really not about education. It's not about setting the right example. It's not about setting the bar high for those who coming on. It's not about presenting accurate and sound information. Man, it is about inlining their pockets with things so they know what sells. Same thing with the music industry. We know that if Talib Kweli come out and we know Rick Ross come out, we know Rick Ross may outsell Talib Kweli, because Rick Ross is talking about destroying the Black community. He's disrespecting the women. He's talking about selling drugs. He's talking about maybe guns and shooting people. So we know that confusion and chaos sells. So a Talib Kweli may not get that many sales because he's not talking about chaos and confusion. You see what I'm saying? So, you know, and that's distinguishing the two. We like a common sense, a Talib Kweli, and you know, they're like a Rick Ross or some other guys. I'm skipping my mind, but all these other guys that's talking about destroying the Black community. on whatever. So, you know, we have to
They
raise that
6'9",
bar.
Cody.
Go ahead.
Cody.
What up?
No, I'm just saying they 6'9s. That's who they is out here.
So we have to get back to that standard, and we need more. Hopefully, with those talented 10 females that they get on, which I know, I may be mistaken, but I think I did see Dr. Oyama said that she were down, but if she wasn't, I know she have separated herself from that other community over there, man. So hopefully that she's get down with the new independent African Academy. You know, like I said, we got mandates, goals, and codes of conducts over here. So there, you know, you won't have to worry about no confusion. So if you want some information and you don't want the foolishness, this is the place to go. But if you want to go downtown across the street, you know what I'm saying, where folks is getting shot and women is selling their bodies, you know what I'm saying, people are making a transaction through drugs over there, somebody is robbing, you know, and then somebody coming up off the next jug, then you know you need to go over there to the other community. But if you want to be safe and you want accurate information, then boom, you come over here to the new independent African Academy. I mean, we are accepting all people. We packed our bags, so hopefully y'all will be able to pack y'all bags and you know, come on the right side of town and not on the wrong side of town. At some point, we have to be grown, y'all. We have to be grown at some point. Like, I know I was foolish at one time and I was in the streets. I was hanging on the wrong side of town. Didn't have to, but you know, it was attractive to go over there on the other side. So that's where I went. I went over there on the other side where it was attractive at, and I got in trouble over there on the other side. I didn't learn a damn thing over there on the other side. I bumped my head and still wasn't learning as I was bumping my head. And then got in a situation I couldn't get myself out of because I wanted to go hang on the wrong side of the tracks. I wanted to go on the other side of the community because it was attractive over there, man, and it looked more cool to go over there, man. And then I've been programmed that, you know, shit, that's just what it is. That's just how we act. You know what I'm saying? That's how we act. We act barbaric. You know what I'm saying? We are uncivilized people. So that's the normal. You see what I'm saying? So I was programmed like that. So that's why I went over there, man. This is the normal, but nah, that's not the normal, man. You know what I'm saying? We are not barbaric. We are not uncivilized. You know what I'm saying? Because if we was uncivilized, we wouldn't be able to build civilization. Because if you go back and study history, go back in time, building took place when people were civil with each other, when people was getting along with each other. That's the only way we able to build. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to unify over here and build over here so we can build something, so we can accomplish some of the goals that I read off. And people, with what I read, if you don't hit, you know, you can hit any one of us up, you know what I'm saying, and let us know, hey, this to the codes of conduct, add this to the mandates, add this to the goals, and we'll keep adding and adding things, and we'll keep reading the mandates, codes of conduct, and the goals that we're trying to accomplish. This is something that we're trying to do in real time. We're not trying to accomplish something on our own. We're trying to accomplish something together. We're not trying to align our pockets with anything. We're not trying to scam anybody for anything. We're not trying to lie. You know, we're trying to present the most sound and accurate information as we can, as possible. I know it may sound boring to you sometimes. You know, we might crack a joke and have some fun and go back and forth, but for the most part, we serious, you know, and there's nothing wrong with having fun. But at the same time, we can't keep running back over there, man, with the foolishness, because a lot of times you don't learn a damn thing when you over there in the other community. So the new Independent African Academy, you have to be a part of the new Independent African Academy, this new community. If you want sound and accurate information, if you want to be held to a high standard, if you want structure, if you want mandates, if you want goals, if you want to affect social change in your community, affect positive change, you want to perpetuate and put yourself in a better position, then you know you need to be over here with the new Independent African Academy community. This is where you need to be, over here at this community. Let them have that. I may come back and talk about tomorrow or something. We may do something, man, about we got to start disassociating ourselves with people. We got to start disassociating ourselves with people. You see, because if we let those people come over here in this community, then after a while, we're gonna get contaminated. We're gonna get contaminated, and then we're gonna go doing the same thing. We're gonna go to arguing and cussing each other out. You can't have a intellectual conversation because now you got all the back and forth with the cussing and the hee and the hoo-ha and the talking about your mamas and your daddies, be involved with your family into the stuff, man. So it's time, man. It's time out for all that. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, when you get grown, you leave that, you know, you don't even go to those other places. Those places don't even interest you no more because you know better. So a lot of us that's looking now or may look in the chat, a lot of people that watch our channel, they grown. So I know they know better. And a lot of people that watch our channels, they read. I know these people read. But you will have in the other ones, man, you have 100, 200 people watching, man, and you may have 1% out of the 200 that might be reading. The rest of the people just in there trolling and talking about something that has nothing to do with whatever the person is supposed to be talking about. You know what I'm saying? Or get some stuff started when people start to ramp up and start to cussing each other out. You know what I'm saying? And it's just crazy. So New Independent African Academy, man, this is a place also where you can bring your kids to. So you can be like, well, son, they talked about such and such, just like this presentation I talked about. I just did when I talked about the women. Peace to Sister LaDosha. I don't know if you caught the end of it, but you are one of the talented 10 for this. You are one of my talented 10 for the 21st century. So I hope you know what the talented 10 ideology is, so you can kind of understand what I mean by you are one of the female talented 10. But this presentation was about the talented 10. So I talked about the history. I talked about the female talented 10 history that started in 1880 and how it was taught in the churches, taught in the basement of the churches, and how some of these HBCUs were started, you know, by these organizations. One in particular, American Baptist Home Missionary Society, who actually went out and got funds to actually help to educate the Black men and the Black women when they was coming out of slavery, and educating them into the churches, in the basement of the churches, and how the women began to take over and become the teacher. But not only that, but just how the men and the women, how this ideology of the talented 10 produced exceptional men and women, produced intellectuals. You know what I'm saying? And one of the mandates was to go back and teach this higher education to the people. Another one of the mandates was to produce writers and authors. You see, so you made the list for my list for the 21st century of talented female talented 10, as well as Dr. Oya Ma'at, as well as Alema Njai, which is Blak Panther's wife, as well as Kaba, Sister Kaba, Nepti, Auntie. So I hope everybody appreciate the small presentation. Like I said, I could have went a little bit further, and you know, in the history of Spelman, I gave you 2 women, well, actually 3 women that graduated Spelman College in the late 19th century, early 20th century, and went on to do great things for themselves as well as their community. So I hope everybody appreciate that. I don't know if Ben, you still on here, Ben, or you probably done walked off and just done left the phone on. You still on here, Ben?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay. You got anything, man?
No, it was a good presentation, man. A good way to show the women's contribution and the importance of the ideology of the talented 10th. And I think that you did an excellent job, man. I said from the beginning that the females should get their own show. They don't have to be lumped in with the men, because often that's what happens. You know, we use this excuse, and you know that other community, they use this excuse. Often what they'll do is, even on, you know, lecture circuits or anything, you'll have 6 brothers, and you know, they add a female in there, and the excuse they'll give you is, well, we're balancing the energy, and I don't know if they failed math or what that is. That's not balance.
You right.
That's
You damn sure right. Go ahead.
it's not about it. What that does is kind of like a, we feel bad that we don't have a woman on here, so we're gonna add one. It's more patronizing. It's more, smells of affirmative action type of tactics than actually wanting a woman on their panel. So I try not to do that. I try to give women their own space to thrive and have their own opinions and channels and thoughts and ideals and beliefs and everything that men have. It doesn't have to be, well, let's throw one in for the sake of, views or perception. No, if they want to have their own show completely independent of us, they have a right to do so. Now, if you got two men and two women, I completely understand that's balanced. But, oftentimes it's not. It's just, they become an afterthought. So I definitely supported you doing this show so they wouldn't be an afterthought.
I appreciate it. But you show right. You have 1,000 men on there. We run them woman on here for balance, so we can have balance. You got 10 men on there. One more. You definitely right. Brother Sutek, and then we'll go to Chavez if he got anything. Brother Sutek, I guess he walked away. What about you, Chave?
No, I learned a lot, and it just, I resonate with, because my auntie, she goes to PV AMU to Fairview, and my little cousin went to Howard, so I understand. Well, like, it's just cool to understand how the origin. Cause I never really even was interested in. I knew people that went to what's that teacher's name? I think Morehouse. Because when I was in high school, they used to, everybody used to say going to Morehouse, going to Xavier, and I knew a girl that went to that school, but like I never really just, outside of it being an HBCU, I never just knew the backstory, and that was very informative today. Then the mention of Amos Wilson, I noticed the female one, but that makes so much sense to me, because reading his books, that's his whole sentiment, is to take what you can learn and apply it to your people. And his focus was like the like the psychology part, and I got a lot of influence from, from him. And I feel like we all have that similar sentiments. That's why, we kind of gravitate toward each other. We got like minds and have similar goals. But it's a good thing that you pulling out and giving to the people, though. And that's my 2 cents.
Yeah. What about you, Shawn? I'll come back to Sutek. Sutek, where Mark walked away. I don't know if you watched the show, the entire show.
I've been watching the show. I just ain't saying nothing.
What about you, Shawn? Was you got some?
I got 2 things to say. You stink.
I knew it was gonna be something bad, but just wait. I already got my I got a big iPad over here. I got it charged up. I ain't even turn it on. I'm gonna turn it on Friday. So everybody can see you get your butt whooped. Everybody see you get your butt whooped, man.
I have one thing to add, and this is just my opinion. If Marimba and he ain't on your list, throw your list away.
So I need to add her. If I don't add, I need to throw the list away. Like I need to know, and I started to asking people, but I just put the people on there that I know that is actually, and I'm not saying she don't, but these are the people that I know that I see, and I see what they're doing, and how they have affected me in my life. Each one of those sisters has affected me in somewhat in my life, and that's why I put not only what they affected me, but I know if they affected me, they affected others, and they also is doing a lot of the things when you go back and look at the mandates from these organizations from the late 19th century, the early 20th century. A lot of the mandates, whether they know about them or they don't know about them, if they don't know about them, they still follow that same formula, that same mandate, and that same standard. So that's why, and with Marie Annie, I matter of fact, I don't know, it might be on my bookshelves back there. I got this little small shelf right here. Let me see. Let me see. No, I don't have it. And I started reading her book. At least it's not on this one. I don't got it's probably back there on one of them bookshelves back there. But I started reading her. Actually, I heard you talk about her, and brother Chris, who used to be with brother Chris, actually mentioned her too. So I ended up, I said, let me go and get by the book. And I just went on here and broke down about the book because I'd heard you talk about her. And then he talked about it. And then I think after I purchased the book, you ended up meeting her a couple of months ago, if I ain't mistaken.
Yeah, I've had the pleasure of meeting her twice.
Okay.
And absolutely, she just you talking about somebody that was mentored by John Herit Clark, it's around Amos Wilson, Check into Joe. I mean, it just don't get a better pedigree as far as training goes than that she had, and she exemplifies that in her work, whether it be Urugu or Let the Circle Be Unbroken or her lectures. If you ever have the pleasure of meeting this walking library, of course she's an elder, but sharp as fire. I mean, can spit anybody's information off the top of the dome, whether it be Dr. Fukiao's, because she was, trained by him too, Dr. Fukiao or John Henry Clark, Amos Wilson, just man, that mind is as sharp as knife in the drawer. And, I don't think she gets enough credit. So I'll always advocate for her.
Oh yeah. And matter of fact, I forgot about that Uhuru book. I actually got two books. That was the first book I bought. And I just scanned through that book, and I bought that book, man, maybe 2014. Might have been about 2014. I hadn't picked it back up, and then I recently bought a book that Circle Unbroken or something like that.
Yeah, it's Let the Circle Be Unbroken.
I
I recommend that book for a lot of people. If you having somebody like they are having trouble seeing your point of view as a African centered or having a trouble seeing why you think the way you do, just have them read that book. It's not a long book.
No.
It's actually a very short book. I think it's only like 40, 50 pages. But the 40, 50 pages are packed with great information that explains why we do what we do in great detail to where a person outside of our community can identify and it resonate with them. So I always recommend that book to people.
What's the title you said?
Let the Circle Be Unbroken by Marimba Annie.
Yeah, it's on the books. It's on the other bookshelf.
Matter of fact, I think because I saw Baba Imhotep in the chat. I think he sells it in his bookstore, so you can hit up Baba Imhotep, Race First Movement, and get it.
Baba Imhotep got a bookstore.
Yeah.
Man, I done bought two books. I bought all of his books. I got every last one of his books, and I bought two other books that's not his books, but I thought he was just getting them and then just selling them or whatever. And I done interviewed
I mean, he's got an online bookstore. Yeah, I mean, my journal is in his online bookstore.
Man. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll talk to him on several occasions.
And if you would direct your eyes to the bottom of this screen, you will see my queen has spoken.
Subscribe to her channel. Just please subscribe. She got some good info. That's where where her and Ben be on there, debunking a lot of those misinformation that a lot of people got out. They got a lot of stuff on there, man. So Devin, I talked about that a while ago. So please, go check it out. Drop that link. What you trying to come on, Layman? We finna get ready to jump up off here, man. Maybe next time, man, we can get you, man, on here. But we finna get ready to step up out here, man. Sutek, you got something? Have you back? Yeah, you back.
Somebody typed the book in the chat, 'cause I can't seem to do it on my phone.
Yeah, I
Let
thought Sutek
Sucker
was
Be
gonna do it.
Unbroken
Hold on.
by
Man,
Marimba Annie.
yeah,
By the
man.
way,
I just say great show. I'm gonna have to go back and check it out because I had to make a quick run at the end. But yeah, this is definitely needed. We the highlighting of the intellectual women in our community, especially with the role that they play in the development of the minds of our youth. This is definitely well deserved, well needed, and I'm gonna try to see what I can do to continue this and keep it rolling by highlighting more intellectual women that have been in the forefront in not only history but science as well. But great show, man. I'm gonna have to go back and catch the last 30 minutes that I missed.
okay, yeah. Yeah, 'cause I know you had them popped up off here. Had to run to this guy here, man. He runs to the store more than anybody I ever know. I had to run to the store every time you talk to him. He on the lean in the back tell you I had to
What's
run
her
to the
name,
store.
Sutek?
What's who name?
Sutek,
I
what's her name? The one you
Swish
going
is
to see at the store.
Swish is sweet.
Mary Jane.
Mary Jane, I heard she a bad mofo.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
they got no loyalty.
But he stay up there. He stay. That's his favorite. Man,
Now you know why.
yeah.
I actually wanted to get a plug for my speaker because I've been using the Bluetooth feature, but sometimes that don't work. Actually, it don't, for some reason the Bluetooth feature don't work when I'm on Zoom. So every now and then I'll be on Zoom. I have to have a plug to actually plug my speaker
Yeah,
or
you
my
went to holler at
headphone.
the plug, all right. you went to holler at the plug.
The plug.
Wasn't no speaker though.
I would plead the fifth.
But again, I got new Independent African Academy up there, man. New Independent African Academy. We're gonna keep pushing that. We're gonna keep talking about that, man. Hopefully we can get more people to join this community. And again, if you hadn't, please go to Mboka Family Connect Apparel and get your new Independent African Academy shirts. I only have them in white right now. I could have added some more color. I'm finna revamp the thing a little bit, take some of them, all them colors off there. I like a lot of colors. That's why some of the shirts have 7 or 10 different colors on there. And I know the women kind of like them, but I only have this in white. New Independent African Academy shirts. Go check that out. And again, I can't let nobody go. Also, here's the flyer up here. I'll be posting a new flyer. We've been posting a different flyer every week, so we'll be posting another flyer tomorrow. So the 24th is our online book release. We'll be releasing Spirit Masters, a historical survey in the minds of African warrior scholars, Volume 4 on Friday. You will be able to purchase the book on Friday. As soon as I wake up Friday morning, well, actually Thursday night, I'll purchase it because I'm not gonna have time Friday morning because I'll be on the road driving to Houston. I'm actually gonna be documenting that too. I'm actually gonna video camera me leaving. I'm probably gonna turn it into like a lit something and then do a show on it I made, but I'm a video camera it. I hadn't never met Shawn. I met Shawn in 2016. Me and Shawn clicked up in 2017, and we started doing the work. And you know, we was together all the time, man. We was together for a couple of years. You couldn't see one without the other. And never met Shawn, but Shawn, you know, we cuss each other out. We talk about each other. We talk about beating each other up when we see each other. But that's my brother. That gonna be our first time ever meeting him since 2016, and people thought we'd already met him because the chemistry that we got. You know, we've been rocking with each other since for real since 2007. But I met him in 2016. Got him in the session my auntie met in late 2016, and then we started doing the work for building you know, information, building with each other, and then started doing stuff on our own on 2016. He'll do some, I'll do some, and then we joined the Mossi, and you know, we started, you know, putting in more work. And so this is my first time gonna meet him. And also Chavis, this will be my first time meeting Chavis, who is the newest member of Kofi Piesie research team. And hopefully I'll be able to meet Ben pretty soon. If he come back to Atlanta, I'm definitely gonna have to drive up there to Atlanta if he come up.
We got to circle these wagons, man, because it's you, I'm in my Ra, and urban historian I haven't met.
Yeah.
Everybody else I met. It's y'all three, man. We gotta circle these wagons.
Oh yeah, we definitely gonna get it, man. We definitely gonna get it in, man. Because I said I'm trying to make it my business before the end of the year to try to meet everybody, because I've been building with people, you know, for some years, and I just ain't, you know, I ain't never met these individuals that I look up to, and you know, the individuals that, you know, bring some type of value to my life, man. I gotta meet them. Like, I hate to drive to Houston, but I'm gonna drive. I'm gonna drive up there. I should have took a plane, but I'm a.
How far is that drive for you?
It's 6 hours. 6 hours.
Ain't too bad.
Yeah, it ain't too far. So
well, I told you to live in Mississippi, man.
Yeah, we might be moving up their way toward Shawn there, man. For some reason, my wife keep talking about Nashville.
Oh, Tennessee.
Yeah, so she been looking at some stuff. The last couple of weeks she been looking at stuff, so she'll show me some. Will be mentioning some stuff. So, and we gonna probably go up there pretty soon and probably look around. I don't know, maybe for the end of the year out. So she real set on, you know, maybe trying to move up there, which would be cool. It'd be cool. I like Tennessee. I mean, I love Memphis. She loved Memphis, so I don't think Nashville would be. I've never been to Nashville, but I don't think it'd be that too bad.
How far is Memphis from you, Kofi?
Memphis about 5 hours from me. I can do it in 4.5. Yep.
Nashville probably be an extra 4.
Yeah, because I know because Shawn was gonna meet me in Memphis because we were going like every year. My wife wanted to go down there for her birthday, so I know three years in a row we went before the pandemic jumped off. And I know the last time we went, Shawn and his wife was gonna come, but she ended up having to do something. Shavonna ended up having to do something, and they didn't come because they had just did it at the last minute. Say, hey, we just gonna come since y'all in Memphis. So, but then she realized she had to do something, so she wasn't able to make it. They weren't able to make it. So, but I think he said that was about a 3 hour, 4 hour.
You want to come down to Memphis in October, man? I'll be there.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna come. You just have to let me know when. I'm definitely gonna come. I'm definitely gonna drive
middle
down.
of the month. I'll be down there for like a week.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna have to come on, shoot on down there, man. Shoot on down there. But yeah, yeah, man, and get out here. But we got 3 guest
Don't forget
speakers. We
your J's.
got huh?
Say, don't forget your J's. Both of y'all.
Oh yeah, I got them, brother. I got them. I'm gonna
They
y'all gonna
y'all
see
got
why they
them
call me the bus
basketball stuff.
driver. The bus
Get the
driver.
expression tours
Okay,
together. That need to be on video too.
Oh
I need that
God.
one-on-one with my niggas before it's time.
Oh
Need
my
that.
God.
I'll tell you that. But we'll have M. Cool Menzie, Asarim Hotel, Brother Panther, who's on the panel, and Unc West, who will be the guest speakers, and Brother Kevin MC Herit Chill will be hosting the show on that night. It'll be set from 7 to 9. 7 to 9. Give away one. I'm gonna give away one shirt and one. Well, I'm gonna give it away together. A book and a shirt. We got the Spearmasters shirts up now. Like the book, it's up on the website, so we'll be giving away a shirt and a book. I might give away. Then we got Dinka Improve. I'm gonna have to explain why we say Dinka Improve. Dinka Improve is also on the book, but we got Dinka Improve t-shirts. Them some dope shirts too, by the way. I might have one on while I'm in Texas, but might give away one of those shirts too. But anyway, man, y'all check us out, man. And I said Shimim Hotep in the beginning, which means bring forth peace. So now I'm gonna say, and I said Etim Hotep, excuse me, I said Etim Hotep, which means bring forth peace. Now I'm gonna say Shimim Hotep. Shimim Hotep just means to depart in peace. So peace and Black African power, and we'll see y'all when we see y'all.